We are just about time. One more minute to go before we get started. So, hello everyone. Swati, are you able to start the streaming now?
Yeah, it started.
Okay. All right. So, hello everyone. My name is Priya Patra, and I am the Vice President Outreach of the PMI Mumbai chapter. I'm your host for this event today and the session today. And this is a very unique session. We have our friends joining in from PMI Czech Republic and South Africa, and of course from Mumbai. And I do see people joining in from Gujarat, Bangladesh, and we have Seema from San Francisco. So thank you for joining in. As we said, say hello on the chat window, even if you've joined in now, and let us know from where you are joining the chat. And so we are getting started now. And what are we going to talk about today? Today we are launching. Swati, can you just mute everyone? And switch off the video. Yes. I will unmute myself again. All right. So today we are launching something that is very close to my heart, a readers book club. And today it's a very special day for us. And this is an initiative from the kitty of our ChapterXchange initiative program that we have launched along with Czech Republic. And today we are joining hands with our South Africa members as well. An initiative on cross collaboration, and what other way to collaborate than with our PMI members across the globe. So it is said that when you sell a book, you just don't sell 12 ounces of paper or ink or glue. You sell a new life, a new dream, friendship and humor. And there is heaven as well as earth, all in that one real book. So today I'm super excited. Really, I'm super excited to welcome some super women who are going to speak about three wonderful books. And each of the present book present their books. And the first one would be Break Free to Stand in Your Power. It's a very powerful book, and it will be presented none other than author Seema Giri. And I will introduce her a little later on. And the second book that we are going to talk about is Organizational Project Management, which is authored and edited by Shankar and et al. And the presenter is none other than Dr. Lynn A. Keys. And she is the president, pardon me. She's the president of the South Africa chapter. And last but not the least, it is all about culture and collaboration. We are going to talk about the culture map, author Erin Meyer and presenter Lenka Pincott. So here it is, Seema Giri for the book Break. Yeah, can you please mute everyone again? Yeah, it is Seema Giri for Break Free to Stand in Your Power. And Seema has 20 years of project management experience, coaching and leadership experience. She has trained about 100,000 individuals through our company. And she herself is #1 international best-selling author and award-winning author. This book that you see here was launched just on June 17, 2020. And she has shared, she has done an amazing feat of leading around 17 or 18, I think it is 18 authors to co-author this book, a big project that she has executed successfully, I must say. So with this, Seema, I will hand over the stage to you to talk about your wonderful book, Break Free to Stand in Your Power.
Thank you, Priya. Thank you so much. And I think this is such a wonderful initiative of creating a readers club. This is really exciting. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, everyone. It's so wonderful to be here on this international platform. And so the key takeaways for this book, as Priya had said, we just launched it last Wednesday on June 17th, and within the first 30 hours of the launch, this book became #1 international.
Uh,
Somebody muted all, please.
Priya, we've lost sound. We've lost sound.
Lost sound from Seema, looks like, because I'm not able to hear anyone. I can hear.
yeah, Seema is
I've
got
unmuted.
muted. I'm trying to unmute her. Hold on for me.
Yeah, Seema, go ahead. Sorry about that.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes, we can hear.
Okay, so I was saying that the book is about overcoming your challenges and taking responsibility, taking control of your life. So the co-authors have written about their major life challenge and how they were able to create the life that they wanted. So the key takeaways from my book is that the missing secret to success is self-care, and this is something that we don't make a priority for ourselves. And this is how many people get sick or get stressed out so much that then they're not able to focus on what they're really meant to, and especially work. So when you take care, self-care includes physical, mental, and emotional. And the benefits of self-care is you make better and balanced decisions. You're better at handling critical situations, and that is so important as program and project managers. You have better and clear and effective communication, and your overall relationship with your in your personal life, at work, with your team is so much better, and you become a better leader. And you you're because you're a better leader, you're able to deliver your projects on time, on target, and within budget. You reduce your rework and wastage on the project that happens. And we've led so many projects, I totally totally understand that aspect. And the next key point is to stop playing small and embrace the journey. I feel like so many of us, we stand on the sidelines and we're wishing that we can be a certain way. We're wishing we can do certain things. We don't really play full out. So after leading, more than 300 project managers and training over 100,000 people, I've realized that not everyone plays full out. We're just not wanting to take that risk. It's easier to take it's easier to
So,
risk on certain projects, right? But when it comes to our life, the major project that you really need to do well in, we
so,
tend to stand behind, right? And not utilizing the full potential. Imagine if all of us took a little risk and played out. Imagine the potential you could reach of yourself. And as leaders, we really need to lead ourselves first so then the team can follow. I feel many times, many of us, we say what to do, but we don't
yeah,
show
okay.
what to do. So you need to really
Yeah,
show
okay.
up,
I'm
step
here.
up, and know when to take a step back. And my last key point is break free to your brilliance. Rebound, reset, realign at any time, at any age. So break free to your brilliance means, allow yourself to overcome your fears, your limiting beliefs, to really shine yourself. You are a you're so wonderful. People forget that they are so wonderful and brilliant and unique. And we tend to shy away from our uniqueness and try to blend in with everyone else. That's not what you're here for. If you believe in a little bit of spirituality, each one of us is here with our own unique gift. And sometimes we shy away from that because other people don't understand our vision. Let me tell you this, that no one is going to understand your vision because your vision is specifically for you and only you will understand. And you're supposed to move forward with that. Some people will understand, not everyone is going to support you, and that's okay. Those are not the people for you. You forge forward and you create, and then people will follow with you that align with you. It's all about creating the vision and aligning yourself to it. Rebound, reset, and realign is really nothing more than being able to take corrective actions, right? These are what, when life hits us, we are dealing with the unknown risk, right? Every other risk we know, and we can make a list of that. All of you are really great at that. But the problem comes when we're not able to handle the unknown risk, which just show up. And then we get stuck on that. So you have to be willing to be open and flexible and take those corrective actions to get back on track. If you can do that on the project, why can you not do that in life? And you can. People say, this is what has been handed to me, so I'm stuck. No, you're not. I am living proof. I used to be bedridden 22 years ago, and 11 doctors told me that it was in my head. It was, I was not in pain. I mean, there was no real medical proof that I had issues, but I kept forging forward and finding a doctor who finally diagnosed me with 3 types of autoimmune: fibromyalgia, rheumatoid arthritis, and hypothyroid. And all this time, had I listened to professionals, I would have, who knows, I probably would have been dead by now. But I knew that I had a belief and I went forward. So you can reset, realign yourself. You can come back and bounce back. You can reset yourself. And those things that you can change, I use a 3R formula: remove, reduce, and realign. Remove things that no longer serve you, reduce things that it's hard to remove, like certain family members, certain people in your life, but you can reduce those interactions with them. And the things that you just can't change and you just can't remove, you need to change your perspective on that, look at it from a different point of view, realign yourself, and that makes a huge difference. Then people are so fixed on, I've been in this situation for 10 years, I can't change. Or, I'm at a certain age and I can't change. I had to fight for 6 years to find the right doctor to help me get better. Had I given up earlier, I would not be traveling the world. I would have not had the business I've had, and I would not have written these 2 books. My first book was with 3 of New York Times bestselling authors: Dr. John Gray from Mars Venus series, Marcy Shimoff, and Raymond Aaron. So the journey is really in the gap of not understanding and accepting and believing that you can move forward and get past your challenges to powerfully create a life of your design. So if you still don't believe this, I'm here to show you in proof, in living proof. I've been able to do that. It's not easy. I'm not saying it's easy. It definitely is not easy, and many times you feel like you're taking 1 step forward and taking 2 steps back. Then many times you're feeling like you're going 5 steps forward and taking 10 steps back. But you're moving forward. I'm going to leave you with my favorite quote from Lao Tzu, who said that the journey of 1,000 miles starts with one simple step. And that's all you have to do, is take one single step at a time. Baby steps count. And you can, the things that you apply on your project using project program and portfolio management is also similar things that you can apply to your life. So it's not very different. Um, Someone was saying, make sure you talk about your project management experience and how you can do that. But I think project management now has become a way of life. So see how you can incorporate the two. It's not very different. Thank you, Priya.
So, Seema, thank you very much for that inspiring words that you've just said. You said take that first step. But how do we take that first step? It is so difficult to take that first step. How do you self motivate yourself to take that first step?
Priya, the first step is nothing but making your decision, accepting in the situation that you're on and making that decision that you want to change, right? That you have to make a difference. That is the very first step. Unless you take that decision, nothing else will happen. So, depending on your situation, you just have to decide, people are willing to settle for less. My thing is, if you have to settle for more. There's so much more there, right? So making that one the first decision, just making the decision to make a change is a huge thing. And Priya, I've noticed that unless you're really fed up with the life you're having, people don't make that change. I was fed
Yeah,
up. I couldn't take it anymore. And sometimes if you can't make a change for yourself, you can do it for your loved ones. I just had a baby when I became bedridden. And when I looked at him and I said, this is no way to bring him into the world. And that's what helped me take that first step.
sure. So that's again a good word of wisdom, or probably a sentence of wisdom that you have said. And it reminds me of that quote: "It's better to die with memories than to die with dreams." Right? So do something
Yes.
that you're proud of, and I truly believe it begins with yourself. I mean, I have friends, I have relatives who say that there's so much pressure from outside. We have so much work
Yeah.
pressure. We have so much family pressure or societal pressure to take care of the family. We can't do anything about ourselves. But truly, as I'm so inspired by what you said, you were bedridden and you kind of took charge of yourself and you march forward. I think that's the way that every I would say women, everyone should take that path and move forward. So thank you very much, Seema, for those words of wisdom. And I think with this, we will move on to the next author, and that is Dr. Lynn Keys. Lynn, are you there on the video? I'm not able to see you as such. Okay, so Lynn, I'm not able to see
So
you.
I'm here. Thank you. I
Okay,
decided to mute and to cut out my video so as not to strain the bandwidth.
okay,
Okay.
that's fine.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
to introduce Dr. Lynn, uh, she is an illustrious person, I would say. She is the president of PMI South Africa chapter since November 2016. And PMI member since ages 2005. Is that right, Lynn? And she is a school
Since
professor.
2005.
Yes, and she's an adjunct business school professor for multiple, U.S. universities, and she is working towards growing the profession to achieve positive organizational and societal impact through the management of projects. Wow, that is a good thing to do, Dr. Lynn. So with this, I think, Lynn, I will hand over the stage to you to talk about the book Organizational Project Management by Cambridge.
Okay. Yes. The Cambridge Handbook of
Yes,
Organizational Project Management. I don't know how many people are familiar with that concept because actually it's not a concept that's very widespread and is not really practiced widely. But the concept first came up in some academic writings in 2007. And the thing is, this Cambridge Handbook, which I had the honor to be able to contribute a chapter to on sustainable development and organizational project management benefits realization. But this is the first type of comprehensive book on organizational project management that's been published. It was published in 2017. And when I think about the situation that we're in now with the COVID-19 pandemic and the disruption and in our discussions with our members, and I'm sure you've had it with yours, it's been a disruption of individual projects, but actually businesses have been disrupted. So we're not just talking about individual projects, we're talking about organizations that actually manage a network and a hierarchy of projects. So this has really amplified the need to really look at how organizations manage projects from an organizational level, and how they integrate this is not about just managing a project or managing a program or managing a portfolio. It's about how you integrate it and bring everything together. So if you could put up the slide, please.
Yes, I will. I stopped sharing. I don't know why, but
Yeah.
let me do that once more. Okay, here it is.
Right now, companies being totally disrupted, having to innovate their businesses. And in fact, projects are strategic. Now, every project may not be strategic, but the management of projects is actually a strategic capability. Your ability to execute your projects so you achieve your results, your value, the value you want to create, and the benefits you want to realize for your stakeholders is actually a competence that's required at an organizational level, not just at the individual project level. So given what this whole age of disruption we're in now, that's requiring serious innovation of business models, and projects are actually part of business models. They're delivery systems or strategies, so they're very key. So when I started to think about this book, when Priya asked, and we started to talk about this launch of the 3 chapters books we would report on, I thought, you know what? This book is so relevant now, though it was published 3 years ago. It's so relevant. And what it does, it brings together about quite a few authors. It has an academic focus, but the academic focus itself enables a person to look at it from different disciplines. And the concepts and the cases that are presented actually are very useful for project practitioners as well, and consultants can take away a lot of stuff. So the book is divided into about 4 areas. One is dealing with the whole strategic nature of projects, and then the structure that's required, organizational structure that's required to manage from an organizational level, the people requirements, what are the competencies, et cetera, and then some trending issues and current issues that need to be addressed at the organizational level. So the key takeaways from this are actually that in order to achieve organizational strategy, a business or a not-for-profit or even a government department, okay, and achieve value creation, et cetera, it requires that focusing on just the project management of individual projects to actually looking at the management of the totality of projects in that organization. And that totality of projects is the network of projects, how projects are related, maybe horizontally or vertically. There's a hierarchy as well, okay? And the ability of an organization to do that really depends the ability of an organization, I should say, to achieve a sustained competitive advantage through how they manage their project means they need to be able to manage it from an organizational perspective. And this involves alignment as well with strategy. So the other takeaway is that organizational project management itself is an organizational capability. Some might say it's a dynamic capability, because if an organization has this competence as its resource base, and it can purposefully, intently create, redefine, augment that resource base in order to remain competitive, okay, and learn, et cetera, it could possibly be a dynamic capacity for the organization. And I know a lot of you are thinking about project management maturity models and things like that involved in this, but maturity models don't necessarily take into consideration whether something is used as a dynamic capability, okay? So when you look at an organizational capability, you have to look at the structures of the organization, how it's organized. You need to know the systems that are in place, what kind of processes they use. You need to understand the competencies that are required at every level of the organization in order to, in an integrated manner, manage these projects. What are the individual and collective capabilities? What type of leadership style? Okay. And this is all operating within a context right now of a lot of disruption, of course, a lot of change. And then this also brings into play this whole approach of how then do you approach the management of projects? Is it a linear perspective, okay, where you think you can predict and just easily move from step A, B, C, D, waterfall approach? Or are we operating in an environment which we all very much recognize now that is constantly changing, dynamic, and the level of complexity is such that it's no way you can actually predict from going from one level, point A to point B, point C, and that we actually have to be able to work in such a way that we can adapt and emerge practices that enable us to stay competitive. Now, some of the key issues that organizations have to deal with at this level of organizing projects, and of course, managing an individual project itself, things like ethics, and this is something all of us come in to get challenged with, the ethics in terms of how you manage your individual projects, but this actually has to be done at an organizational level as well. Sustainable development. The chapter I did in the book itself is called it's on sustainable development. And hold on a second. It's about how operational project management itself and sustainable development is about creating value and benefits for broader stakeholders. And so they're very much aligned. And therefore, when you bring the two together, you increase the possibility for broadening the impact of value creation and benefits, okay? So that's looking at the integrated sustainable development. I'm not talking about financial only, but looking at how an organization carries out its projects, the processes, the systems they use, the actual content of the project to ensure that whatever they do, the impact is social, economic, and environmental. It's within the carrying capacity of the environment, as well as having positive impacts on community and positive impacts on economic growth and welfare, okay? Stakeholder expectations are a big thing when you start looking at the management of projects at an organizational level, because then it is quite complex, because then you start beginning to understand the competing perceptions and priorities for value, okay? And then communication is another key area that you have to consider when looking at projects from a very integrated. And all this has to, now, not all organizations are purely project-oriented organizations. Organizations run projects, they create value, create benefits, but also the outputs or the outcomes of projects have to be absorbed within operations. So organizational project management is not only about how you manage your individual project or how you manage your program or how you manage your portfolio, but it's actually how you manage all those things in alignment with strategy within the governance framework and integrating with operations, okay? So for me, when I thought about this book again and I started reading through it, I thought it was very relevant for now. And I would recommend strongly that people take a good look at it to see how they can actually begin thinking about how, even when you manage your individual projects, okay, what is that thinking more holistically in a more integrated way in terms of how does your project relate to strategy? How does it relate to other projects within the organization? How does it relate to operations? How does it relate to the broader stakeholder interests that impact the organization, et cetera? So I highly recommend the book itself. It has about 25 chapters, but you can read each one individually, and every author, some are academics, some are what I call pracademics like myself, who work on the academic and the practitioner side. There's a lot of rich information here that's not available in a lot of places.
Sure. So thank you, Lynn, for those wonderful insights into this Cambridge Handbook of Organizational Project Management. I have $1 million question for you, Lynn. So I know South Africa chapter is going through a transformation, right? From to a digital, going through a digital transformation, I would say. So what are those three learnings that you can leverage from this book in your transformation? You being a academic, I'm sure you must be practically leveraging these key takeaways as well. So what are the three things you would say that you have leveraged practically?
We're a PMI chapter. Not everything we do, we put within the context of a project. So we're looking at our systems, our operational systems, along with the specific kind of projects that we would carry out that probably are in the form of events, etc. So for us, the thing that was driving us is our mission, okay? Our mission statement. And given that this disruption that essentially threw us off the cliff into the ocean of the fourth industrial revolution, which all of us, we really don't understand why we didn't jump before, because we can all swim.
Yeah, yeah.
And we're swimming now, we're learning fast. But essentially, understanding how we need to be aligned in terms of our mission. And our mission was to provide that support to enable our members and to be able to develop the capabilities to realize ideas, okay? As we're in alignment with the new PMI mission as well. So in South Africa, we want to capacitate our members and actually the larger stakeholder community in terms of being able to turn ideas into reality. Prior to this, we were a touch point. We are a national chapter, I should say, and we had 3 branches and we had 3 smaller provincial teams. But that did not enable us to actually reach our mission, which was to reach everybody in the country. Now that we're moving to virtual platforms, we are able to reach everyone. So now what we're trying to do is to really address the pain points, okay, of our members and stakeholders so that we create platforms that enable them to address their interests as well. Now, from an organizational project management perspective, we're looking at bringing together the operations with these various kind of project activities we want to carry out with our members so that we are actually meeting our mission. So we're looking at our values as an organization as a whole. We're trying to fit it to make sure our governance structure within the organization supports that is mutually supporting, okay, and everything is integrated. And we're looking at these issues in a holistic manner.
Very good. So there's another question that has come up. You spoke about the competencies. Did those
Yes.
competencies go through a drastic change post in this COVID era? What do you think?
For our organization?
Yes.
Okay, for our organization, we are still in the process. We haven't totally defined, but we recognize that as we agree on what this new approach will to support it, okay? Now, we do have elected roles, and so no, we're not talking about moving people out of those roles, but we're looking at how now they can best utilize their competencies to support what we're trying to do. And I think this is what happens in all organizations as they go through a transformation. People have to begin to adapt, look at current competencies, develop new ones, take new focus on what they're doing. And in fact, I think what we're doing in many ways, I don't want to talk too soon, may actually help people to get out of a lot of the administrative aspects of trying to plan monthly meetings in person, okay? And actually can really start more engaging with members on the richness of the topics related to project management, because we'll have this digital platform.
Right. So I think COVID is probably the tipping point that Seema was talking about. So we don't change until unless we fed up. So probably for
That's right.
organizations or for the business or for this entire industry, that was a tipping point which has made us change, right? For the good, I would say.
That's
Because,
right.
yes.
That's right.
All right. So that is a very good, summary of this wonderful book. And I thank you so much, Lynn, for giving us those insights. And I also do recommend everyone to have a look at this book and see that what you can gain from this and take it forward for industry 5.0, I would say. 4.0 is gone, right?
Yes, we're 2.0 is long ago gone.
So I think 5 or 6, I don't know, you name it, but please do take this wisdom, nuggets of wisdom from Lynn, and try to implement in your projects, in your organization for sustainable development. All right, thank you very much. The next,
Thank you.
yeah. So the next speaker is Lenka Pinkott. Hi, Lenka, you're there?
Hello,
Yeah.
hello everyone.
So she is back again, and this time she's going to give us some insights about the Culture Map book by Erin Meyer. And I see that she also has a guest with her. So, Lenka, you want to introduce your guest, special guest?
Yeah, I have a very special guest with me. It's actually my husband, Boris Pinkott, and I invited him to participate in our discussion because his job is vice president of global vice president of human resources. So he's really the best person to know a lot about working in a multicultural environment and what does it take to understand how culture is influencing the way how we work, how we communicate, and how to make it, smooth when you have people from different parts of the world to work on the same projects. So I would also maybe introduce myself. I'm Lenka Pinkott. I am Vice President for Programs from Czech Republic. So thanks again, Priya, for putting this in action to having another event in our ChapterXchange program. And I will talk about the book, which I believe the topic of the book really fits in here because it's a book called Culture Map from Erin Meyer. And this book is all about to help us to understand how culture, the place that we are coming from, how is it influencing the way how we communicate and how do we cooperate with each other. So at the beginning, I would say a few words about Erin Meyer. Erin Meyer, she's American who's living in France. So you already see that these cultures are pretty much different. She's a professor at one of the most successful, the best business schools in the world in Seattle. And her area is exploring how does culture play, what is the role of the culture in leadership. So the way how she put this book together was that she was not only working in different parts of the world, but she was interviewing managers and she was trying to understand what is the most important for them when they decide for their leadership style or for the way how they work in the teams and the way how they communicate. And based on this research that she did over years and years, she identified 8 traits, 8 behaviors, which she put on a scale, and based on questionnaires and interviews and her own observation, she tried to put countries on these scales for these 8 areas to help us to understand how we are different. And I have to say personally, I love this book because myself, I have experience of working in multicultural environment in Europe, also in US. And my first takeaway is that even if we speak the same language, English, that still does not mean that we understand each other. We say the same words, but actually it can mean something totally different. And this communication, this is how culture steps in. So if I give you example to understand what I mean, is for instance in English, we use something which is called upgraders and downgraders. So when I'm looking at this slide, you see this orange frame around my takeaway. So to be very illustrative, when we were putting this presentation together in some version, Priya sent me a version and the orange frame was overlapping with the text. So I am from culture where we use downgraders. So I said, Priya, there's like a little bit thing going on with the text. Let's make it a bit smaller. This is downgrading. What I actually meant is like, hey, it's a problem. It doesn't fit. If I would be from different culture, for instance, from Dutch, which they provide very strong and direct feedback, they will probably shoot at Priya and say, "Hey Priya, it's wrong, it doesn't fit." And these are the differences in one of the area. How do we provide feedback? My other second takeaway from this is that if we work in multicultural environment, we should constantly educate ourselves and trying to understand where are the others coming from, what are their preference for providing feedback, for communicating, etc. But we should not try to copy that, because learning a book or talking about it, that is not enough to replace generations and generations of language development and sensitivity for the language. Because this is then what says, how do we interpret the words to us? And then my third takeaway from my own experience, if you communicate with a colleague from a different place, different culture, and you think that he is too straight or confusing or not straight enough, not direct enough, my recommendation would be to take a step back and check if there may not be some culture issue and start a dialogue. Just simply let them explain. Why did you put it this way? Why do you ask me this question? And then you may save yourselves a lot of headaches. Because as Erin explains in this book, the way how she explains that she puts lots and lots of examples. It's not that we would be rude to each other on workplace or too direct or not too direct, but we have simply different preferences. How do we communicate with each other? And what is absolutely perfect on this book, that not only that she explains these 8 differentiators in the way how we communicate and lead, but for each of them, she gives plenty of examples. She basically rewrites dialogue. Like, this happened to me when I was in India. This happened to me when I was in Asia. This is how people reacted. This is what I discussed. This was my coaching session. And she explained and explains in a way that we really can understand and relate it to our work experience. And at this moment, I was thinking that I will ask my husband maybe to share his story with cultural differences in workplace, and so that we can see what kind of learning points this book can help you and maybe save you some disappointment or some difficulties when you join multicultural teams.
Okay, look, thank you, Lenka, and thank you for having me for this conference. So first of all, it's amazing what you are doing, Priya, Lenka, Sima, all the team here. Interestingly, it's driven by women, these cooperations, and I think this is something that will have a great future. So this book, and again, Lenka and myself, full disclosure, with Erin whatsoever, but definitely for any project manager working in a global environment that you should read. Easy to read, a lot of clues, a lot of keys to navigate through global, global, any kind of project. So I would say a couple of things here. First of all, when you think about what is happening to the world right now, we're impacted by the COVID. The ability to successfully drive international projects, okay, is made even more difficult. Okay, you don't have the opportunity of a luxury now to connect directly, to put people in a room for 3 days so that they can get together. So understanding what are the clues of each culture, around those 8 dimensions, and Lenka didn't go through them in details. This is not the purpose of this meeting, but those are really, very pragmatic ones. How do you communicate? How do you make decisions? How do you trust each other? How do you express your disagreements? And there are 4 others. Those are that anyone can relate. Right now in my job, as a global VP of HR, where we have multiple global projects, whether it's building a factory in China, whether it's outsourcing part of IT to an Indian outsourcer, whether it's transforming our HR organization right now. All this, is based on our ability to bring successfully teams together and get things done, okay? Because this is another thing that Erin is showing. It's not only about the communication and the nice bits, It's also how you get things done, based on your cultural specificities. And I think with the COVID, it's even more important to understand those keys, understand those clues and you need to be educated on this. And I think Erin's book on this is absolutely, amazing and extremely useful. Okay? And so that's one thing I want to say. Second thing, which relates more to the immediate, events that are happening across the world around diversity and inclusion. Erin is really focusing on country cultural differences. But when you think about it, each of our job and also as individuals, and that relates also to Sima's insights on her book, is who you want to be, okay? And are you an active listener? Do you understand who you are, okay? And who the other are, and how do you relate to them? And that's another piece, that's more a personal aspect here from the book, is you learn a lot about yourself, okay? And how do you go through and above the prejudice to accept people different, the way they are, and to work with them and relate with them. So those are the two things I would put forward here.
Thank you so much for your insight, and we will hand it over back to Priya.
Yes. So thank you, Lenka. Thank you, Boris, for this wonderful insights. So the first question that I see in the chat is not a question, but it's a comment. It's all about the perception, how one looks at and from which angle. So do you think it is all about the perception, Lenka, where you said upgrading and downgrading? I mean, I know, but that was just a comment. Yeah, go ahead.
So for me, this book was really eye-opening, and I really mean it. So my first experience working in international environment was when I was working in Europe. And in Europe, you know that we are multiple different countries, and every country is a bit specific, but we talk to each other and we say, when you talk with German person, he will be probably more direct. When you talk with British person, this is how you communicate. So we pass it information. But then if there is a nation that we don't know that much, we may have this perception that, for instance, and this is very interesting, this nation, these people, they are dishonest because if they don't like you. And this is very interesting. And this is exactly what Erin is addressing in her book, because she's explaining that one of these traits, these 8 that she identifies, is the way how we evaluate and how we give feedback. So in some culture, when you give direct negative feedback, this is the sign of honesty. It is appreciated. In other cultures, this is very rude and bad. So we all have perceptions, we all heard things about the others, but this book is eye-opener and helping you to understand how to work with this bias and correct your perception and be more open to different communication styles and different preferences. For instance, how to provide the feedback, how to persuade, how to make agreement, and how to work together.
Yes. So I see Paul, who is very, very excited about this book, and he said that he has already bought it and he's going to finish it over the weekend. So that's a good thing. Yeah. So the next question is about is to Boris. Okay, since you're a global HR, so and you're working with multiple cultures, do you see a change coming because of this COVID thing?
Absolutely. I see, I think everybody, each one of us sees the change, whether it's personal, whether it's at the company level or at the society level. Around the culture, what I see more is, and that's just one thing that strikes me, is how we care about people. Okay, and you're in India, Priya. I happen to have a very large team in India, and obviously this is right now a very challenging situation for you and your country, dealing with the COVID-19. And I think what is striking me right now is the level of connection that, at least for our employees, I see, of cooperation, collaboration, that is, amazing, and was there before probably, but was not used to its full potential. I see especially my HR team going literally above and beyond every day, not only doing their job, but literally taking news from each of their respective groups of employees. And as you know, in India, people can be really scattered when they go back to their when they had to go back to their homes. So keeping all this community in contact, and again that was something that was probably existing, but that is now in experience at full and very directly impactful for the safety of our employees. And so I think what is changing right now, I see not only in India, is again, back to the purpose. Okay, what is the purpose of such company? What is and relating more to some things that are more essential to each individuals, and not only on just the transactional aspect of being part of a company. That's the main change I see right now.
Sure, sure. So I read an article in McKinsey, I think, and where they say that organizations should focus on reconfirming or reaffirming their purpose, why they are there. Yes, and because the way they are interacting with their employees now in these difficult times, as well as the way they're giving back to the society, that is what is going to keep everyone remember them in the long run and will build that loyalty or that engagement with that organization. So I think good points made, Boris. And there's a question up there: how to win the cold minds? Okay, how to, not cold, odd minds. So I don't know what that odd means, but I think someone who is rigid or who is complex, right? And I don't know whether that has to do with culture. That is probably there in all cultures. But do you have any words of nuggets, words of wisdom, which you could share that in your agile transformation journey, how to deal with complex people?
Ah, you have a good examples on this.
Yeah, that's my daily job. And just a question, but maybe I would like to contribute to this, because if we start minds, which translates someone who may have a different type of thinking than me, and may have different view on the things, then what I always recommend is to listen first. Listen more than talk, and let people explain what is bothering, is their issue that they need to solve, and really try to understand what is the place or the situation that they are coming from, so that you can really understand, and never ever push solutions before you understand first what they actually need, what they are looking for. So this is also where this book on culture may help, because, for instance, one of the communication traits is called about persuasion. If we first talk about principles, or how to apply things, or the way how we comment, if we downgrade, or be more direct. So this all can help to communicate with people who are different type of thinking. But regardless of this, listen. That's always the first thing that they should do.
Yeah. So I think our participants are also agreeing with you. They're saying people are not complex. It is a matter of listening to them. And it is true for all cultures, I would say, right? So there's another question from my side now, Lenka. I know that you worked in the United States for some time, and then you moved back to Czech Republic. So what is those few things that you had to adjust when you moved from one culture to another? Some practical tips. Yeah.
So when I moved to US, and this is my first takeaway on the book here, I had to learn how to understand what these people are actually saying. This is absolutely not a matter of English. It's not a matter of words. It's really a matter of translating the meaning. What are they actually telling you? So this was my huge takeaway, because I was puzzled. There were words It was not matter. And just to be really clear, it's not a matter of grammar or anything. And I have the book here with me. And for instance, there is one funny reference on page number 67. It is called Anglo-Dutch Translation Guide. So just to see what I'm talking about, for instance, what I know this is not about American, this is about British, but just that you get the idea. When British say, "Oh, by the way," British understand. The following criticism is the purpose of this discussion. Dutch understand. This is not very important because you say, "By the way." So this learning how to translate the words into meaning, this was my huge takeaway when I moved to US. Then when I came back to Czech Republic, this is very different culture. That was also quite difficult, very challenging because I kind of adopted this American mindset, which did not fit. So I had to kind of relearn, how to fit back. But here I would really reference the book from Sima. I did not adjust it back. I decided that I explored the new ways of myself in US, which there's a huge culture of freedom. And what I adopted, I decided to keep it, even if it caused some backlash with my original culture.
Oh, that is so wonderful. And
Priya, can I add to that?
yes, of course, go ahead.
It's quite interesting because I have worked and lived in quite a few different countries over quite a few years, working on projects. And what you said about not changing back is very important. It's almost as if you expand your repertoire of skills and being able, even though you might be speaking the same language, your skills and how you can understand context and nuance and all these other things. And actually, if you can think of it this way, person one, when you enter a new culture and you begin to understand and begin to really communicate, you come out as person 1A. You're never the same. And if you you don't go back to what you were. And so and then when you add on another culture, you become 1AB. But eventually it's and in the project environment, this is very key because I was listening. In fact, that book, I saw it in actually the Vienna airport, and I bought it a couple of years ago, the culture track. But it's in most projects, especially mega projects, but any project also where you're working virtually also, there is multiple cultures involved. And the expediency of getting the job done sometimes gets in the way of people taking the time to understand where the other person is coming from and truly listening. Because sometimes you can be listening, but you're not listening and hearing the right things, or you're hearing it through your own cultural filter. You may have heard it, but just like you explained, the by the way, okay? So, for example, the Hull Train project here, which was a massive equivalent about 3 billion US dollars fast high-speed train, okay? There were about 23 nationalities that worked on that project.
Oh.
And I remember the first project manager told me their big stumbling block was communication. But what they did initially, though, was to create some sort of a stakeholder group. Because if you go, I also want to relate this to organizational project management even. When you start looking beyond an individual project and you start looking at how an organization is structured, the values, et cetera, that are also related to culture. And who says, Peter Drucker said, what? Culture eats strategy for breakfast. Is that it? Did he say that? But the whole idea that even within the organization itself, you're interacting all the time with multiple projects and different groups, and you have to find a way. Those 8 areas you talked about in terms of influence, decision making, things like that, that all impacts at an organization level, that spills down into the individual project level, but then the individual project is working even in a totally different context, maybe than the parent organization. So the challenge is then, how do you make sure that you're communicating in the right way with these external stakeholders on a project, and then also aligning with your organization itself that the project belongs to as well. So these are special challenges, I think. So I appreciated what you said.
Yeah, that was wonderful. So we are just running out of time. We just have 1 minute to go. So I would request Lynn, if you have any board members on this call right now, to give a vote of thanks to our panelists and for all the members who have joined in today to hear to these 3 books that our panelists talked about.
Well, I think I saw 2 people here. We have our VP for Volunteer Management, Jackie Jarvis, and we have our VP for Communication and Technology. And they're very key members of our transformation process. So I would like them to say something. It's something real short and sweet.
We just have 1 minute, Lynn, so we'll have to wrap up
30 seconds each.
Yeah, that's fine. That works. Okay, while they are coming up.
Jackie, are you there? Francois, are you there?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm here. And
Jackie is there.
in the interest of time, I'm just going to say thank you for launching this. We're excited to see what the next series is going to be.
Yep.
Thanks, everyone.
Yes. Francois, you're there? You want to say something?
Yes, from my side, thank you very much for the opportunity, and it's great to see how we can collaborate with one another across the distances, and it would be great to see how we can get the other chapters in on this particular focus point, which is great, and it brings everyone together. So thank you very much. It's excellent.
Yeah, sure. So for everyone, a feedback link will be shared. Don't forget to take that link, take that feedback, and let us know what you think. And of course, there will be a section in that feedback form taking suggestions from you on what other books you would like to hear about. And we will take that and we will curate a next Readers Book Club session. And with this, I think I will, close the call. Thank you everyone for joining in. We had more than 100 participants from all across the globe joining in. Thank you, Seema. Thank you, Lynn. Thank you, Lenka and Boris, who are on vacation but yet joined in for the session. And thank you for this awesome time that we spent together. So let us say cheers before we move on. Cheers. Clap for others. If you can unmute yourself and clap. So thank you, guys. We will see you again next.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Yes, tentatively, the last Friday of the month will be set aside for such program, but we will let you know. Do watch our, social media post for more details. So thank you very much, South Africa chapter and Czech Republic chapter and Mumbai
Thank
chapter.
you. Thank you
Bye.
so much, everyone. This was great. Thanks again. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Seema. Thank you, Seema.
Thank you.